Hey, I'm Herald sports writer Manny Navarro, joined once again by my colleague here, Andre C. Fernandez. As you can see, we're inside the locker room here at St. Thomas Aquinas, where the Raiders have a huge game this week they're preparing for against Dwyer after their big win last week over Plantation, their district rival. Dre, thoughts on the Raiders moving forward?
Well, they did what they had to do. They pretty much followed the same formula, beat Plantation. They took care of a team that was hungry, had gotten healthy, as you said in the story you wrote last week. And now here comes Dwyer, number one ranked team in Class 7A, big, fast, athletic team. Dwyer's never been undefeated this far into the season before, so it's going to be a big challenge, especially going on the road.
All right, well, the Raiders won their game. They're advancing in 7A. Let's go back and talk about 8A for a second, where you covered two tremendous games. Yeah. Let's talk about the one in the rain Saturday.
Which one?
Well,
they were all in the rain this week.
Well, the one South Dade beat Killian. That was the Mud Bowl, really.
I'm in my fourth pair of shoes, in the past 2 days or whatever because of this rain. But yeah, the Mud Bowl. Well, I'll start with the one that started Thursday night at Tropical. Never been rained on more in my whole high school reporting career than I did that night. Columbus jumps out 13-0. Coral Gables can't even grip the football properly, but a lightning bolt struck. The game got postponed. Next day, they're out on the dry field at Travis Powell. Completely different story. 20-0 they start out because Columbus cashes it in right away. And even within that comeback, Gables missed a field goal. They were stopped on downs. They made mistakes, but it was just a total dominance. Just kept coming with the running game. DeJohn Smith with the passing game. Greg Howell's running the football well, but really it was Coral Gables' defense. Not the most dominant, maybe not the most stingy out there in the entire state, but it's one that knows how to create turnovers. They've done it all season. Mark Wynn had 2 interceptions. They returned the punt for a touchdown. They returned an interception at the end for a touchdown. And the biggest highlight came when Danny Fernandez hit a 48-yard field goal into the wind at Travis Powell to win the game. And it's Coral Gables' first time they've ever beaten Columbus. Here's something I'm going to throw at you. First time since 1969, since the Nick Cody's era, that they've won 11 games.
Wow.
This is the first time since 1985 that they've been this far in the playoffs. They've gotten to the third round now. And now they get a South Dade team that, is pretty balanced, pretty complete from what I saw against Killian.
Yeah. South Dade gets their revenge against Killian 13-7 in the rain, as Dre talked about the Mud Bowl. A lot of people complaining about the field conditions. Why are they playing in these terrible conditions? Talk a little bit about that, Dre, and what you think, moving forward here of this matchup.
Well, I'm going to say just in my opinion, and I know the opinion of a lot of people, it's about time Tropical Park maybe got turf. A lot of stadiums in Dade County do. I don't know what it's going to take as far as money, logistics, that sort of thing, but they have to get it because this stadium's been chewed up too long, too many years of getting to this point, and it's just mud. It's not even grass anymore. It's just mud out there. South Dade was able to handle it thanks to Johnny Hankins and that offensive line. They ran for 179. He ran for 179 yards, and that saved them, and they won the game. But really, it's just a shame to see teams play out there in those conditions. But overall, I think the matchup. South Dade is a complete team, and it's going to be interesting because they're going to match up, like I said, against that Gables defense that's very opportunistic. And if you make a mistake against them, they're going to make you pay for it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that game later on when we preview this week's action, rather. Dre, let's talk a little bit about the other game in 8A up in Broward County. I covered this one. What a bloodbath. Miramar, Deerfield, first time 2 undefeated teams in Broward County history meet in the playoffs, and it wasn't even it was a total mismatch. Miramar 43-6 winners. What did you take away from watching the footage of that game?
Just how dominant Miramar is. And at the beginning of the season, I thought they'd be the one to represent South Florida in 8A, and they're showing it right now. I thought it would be a closer game. I picked them to win, but I thought Deerfield would put a little more, but it was just you saw it firsthand. I read about it and watched the video, and impressive to see the way they just completely shut down that really balanced and athletic Deerfield Beach offense. They hadn't given up, I think, a first down till probably almost halftime or something like that. It was ridiculous the way they just completely shut them down. And like we said all year, now that Miramar's offense is potent enough to match its defense, they're going to be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, they get Palm Beach Gardens this week. We'll talk about that again later. Class 6A, total mismatch. Central absolutely dominates Dillard, but we kind of expected that.
Yeah, we did. It was, they jumped out to a 17-0 lead. Dillard cut it to 17-14, fought a little bit, and then what Central seems to always do, they just, they run away with it. They flip a switch, and all of a sudden they don't hit the brakes until the game's over. 59-14, and now they're facing their own tough opponent in Palm Bay Heritage. That team's undefeated.
Heritage. Speaking of another Heritage, American Heritage goes on the road, beats Immokalee last week. Impressive performance by Sony Michel. Looks like the Heritage is really getting going here.
Yeah, we've said all year they have more than Sony Michel, but you know what? Sony said, I'm going to have my own night tonight, 270 yards, and just, again, complete dominant performance out there. Wasn't easy, though. Immokalee put up some points, and that's always a good team out there. But, this is a battle-tested Heritage group that knows how to win, and I expect them to keep rolling.
Booker T. Washington, they take care of business as well, advancing past University. This was a much-hyped game, but turned out to be a mismatch, too.
Yeah, it turned out, in the early going, it was close. University was able to get a turnover, but we all said it on the sideline. They needed to cash in to even have a chance in that game. They got to settle for a field goal, and that's a credit to Booker T's defense. They shut them down 28-3, took the big lead, and at that point, you knew in the second quarter the game was over. And Treon Harris, again, what an impressive show. Even with the bad knee he had earlier in the year, 6 touchdowns, 3 touchdown passes. He ran for 3. He's the key to the whole thing. They're a complete team, but he drives the engine right there.
Our 2 small school teams that are left, Westminster Christian and Champagnat, both go on the road, pick up big wins. Talk about what you took away from those 2 games.
Very impressed with Westminster Christian. I thought if they were going to trip up, this was going to be the game because on the road, a Newman team that was very good. But they jumped out early, got a huge lead. At the end, Newman almost took it from them, but they were able to hold them off. But 55 points on the road against a team like Newman is very impressive. It shows you the weapons that the Warriors have this year. And one more win, they're going to state.
And how about Champagnat?
Yeah, and the Lions. The Road Warriors, they did it again. I know you had a little bit of a doubt there of Belglade, but they were able to to play well. They actually ran the football, balanced it out a little more. They've been passing the ball well all year, and it shows you their balanced offense is coming together, and they're putting up these clutch wins. They're going to have another good road win because now they're headed to Largo this weekend.
All right, that wraps it up for the recap. We'll be back to give you our picks.